Hi, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about the current defamation case that Rebel Wilson is involved with the lead actress in her directorial debut, The Deb, which was an Australian movie. It has now come out in Australia, but it hasn't been doing the greatest, and there has been so much legal drama, regular drama, social media drama around this movie. And Rebel Wilson, I don't know what is going through her mind because she seems to be making a lot of decisions that I wouldn't make. Let's put it that way. But the court case that's going on right now, because there's multiple cases that she is dealing with this production, and the one that is ongoing right now is between Rebel Wilson and the lead actress of The Deb, Charlotte McInnes, who has sued Rebel for defamation. And it was ongoing in Australia. They did have it live streamed this week, which I was able to watch a lot of it, but it is at the middle of the night is when it airs. So I only require 4 to 5 hours sleep a night, but I do require some sleep. So I missed some of it. And you can't record it. They don't put it up afterwards. You can't even like obviously I will take notes and things like that, but I can't take a screenshot and put it in here. I can't put a clip in. That's why even like the news channels, all you ever see is them sharing clips of like Rebel and Charlotte like walking into court because you're not allowed to share it at all. So that's also why if I reference like watching the thing and not sharing it, that's the reason. But the whole case that is going on right now, it is absolutely fascinating from the standpoint of someone who talks about Hollywood drama and things. And as anyone from my regular channel or my main channel know, I did a deep dive on everything that's happening with all these different legal cases and what Rebel has been accused of, and also what Rebel has been accused of when it comes to PR manipulation and the people that she hired to allegedly create a smear campaign against a producer that she's had a lot of conflicts with. So, if you want a very thorough background on everything, I will link my main video below. And I am, when the court cases are over, going to do for each one, like do a full breakdown of everything because it is still ongoing right now. But there was such craziness in the court this week that I have to talk to someone about it. So that's why I'm going to do some updates on this second, technically third channel. So, some of the biggest things that jumped out to me was there was a lot of people on the stand this week, including Rebel Wilson, and there was even more accusations levied at her through her being on the stand. So, just to give the briefest of briefest backgrounds for anyone who's unfamiliar with what is happening, Rebel Wilson was the director and starring in this movie, The Deb, and she had multiple other producers involved, including a woman called Amanda Ghost. The star of the show was, as I said, Charlotte McInnes, and there was a lot of tension. And at one point in the beginning of production, Rebel and Amanda Ghost got on great, according to one of Rebel's agents who spoke in the court this week, Charles Collier. And then they had some sort of falling out. There also was a falling out with Rebel and a lot of the production because she wanted a writing credit on the movie. She was turned down by the Australian Writers Guild, and that's when things seem to turn a lot. There also is budget issues and a lot of back and forth. All of the documents they shared this week, Rebel did not come across great, and she in general just didn't seem to be someone who would be very easy to work with. And she did seem very, very put out that she wasn't getting this writer's credit, which I'm assuming that she wanted this whole directed, starring, and written by Rebel Wilson. She was offered like an additional writing by credit. And as I always discuss on my main channel, some of that stuff sounds kind of trivial, but to actors, it's such a big deal. And it is sometimes a really, really important thing with where your name is in the credits, what you're credited for, even like where it is on a poster and all of that stuff. So it doesn't seem like a huge deal, but a lot of actors, it is a really big deal. So just before the movie went into production, the producer, Amanda Ghost, that Rebel now has the issues with, she and the actress Charlotte McInnes went to Bondi Beach and they were swimming. Amanda Ghost had some sort of medical episode where she kind of went into anaphylactic shock and she was like shaking and like cold. And they went back to the penthouse where they were staying, and Charlotte McInnes, and there was another person there as well. And they ran like a shower and put Amanda in it, like really hot water. It didn't get her warmed up, and they're all still in their swimsuits, like bathing costumes at this time. And so they run a bath, and Charlotte and Amanda are in the bath in their swimming costumes, and Amanda, warmed up the other person there, like made them hot drinks, and everything was fine. The next day, Rebel hears about this situation, and so she has a conversation with Charlotte, and this is where things differ a lot because Rebel says that Charlotte said she was very uncomfortable and that Amanda kind of forced her to bath and shower with her, and she was really uncomfortable, and it wasn't a great situation. And so everybody else says that it was kind of laughed off as like, oh yeah, it was like a bizarre situation, but if you took out like the fact it was a medical episode and the fact we were in swimsuits, like yeah, it would be weird or very weird that the producer and star of the movie are in a bath together. But this is when things really start to just get even more tense because Rebel then starts going to file sexual harassment things against Amanda Ghost on behalf of Charlotte McInnes and really stands by this accusation that she makes that Rebel was told that Charlotte was uncomfortable with the situation, even though Charlotte has denied it. And there are text messages between Rebel and Amanda Ghost where Rebel is saying, oh, I talked to Charlotte, she's fine, everything's okay. Rebel now says that yes, that message went out, but then she just didn't feel right, and so that's when she kind of plowed on with everything. There were other issues like the writing credit. There also, Rebel had issue with the three producers, Amanda Ghost, Gregor Cameron, and Vince Holden, getting a 300,000 fee for producing, and there just was lots of other like trivial things. One other very big thing that Rebel's been accused of in this 2 years that everything's been kicking off is launching a smear campaign against Amanda Ghost. And there are text messages, there are voice notes of the people who ran the smear campaign allegedly at TAG, who are Melissa Nathan, and that their company's called TAG, the agency group. And this all came out in the Justin Baldoni Blake Lively thing. Like, we wouldn't have known about this if Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively's case wasn't going on. And so Amanda Ghost had all of these websites come up about her that were like amandaghostsucks.com, and claiming that she was the Indian Ghislaine Maxwell and that she was the new Heidi Fleisch and all these other claims about her. And I'm not saying that anyone involved with this case seems like a great person, because they do all have lots of backstories and allegations as well, but I'm just for now gonna stick to what happened in the court case this week. And there also are multiple other cases, so it is only the case that is ongoing with Charlotte right now, because Amanda Ghost and Rebel have their own separate legal thing coming down the road too. So the whole thing with the smear campaign, there are text messages, emails, and voice notes, as I said, of this company saying, Rebel wants a site like this, Rebel said to do this. And there also was a Word document that one of the employees from TAG, Kate Casey, said on the stand that she was given this document, told to work off it, and the author of this document was Camp Sugar, which is Rebel Wilson's production company. And so there is a lot of, I want to say evidence, but there's a lot of arrows pointing towards Rebel being the one who did ask for this smear campaign to be orchestrated. There's lots of all the documentation that seems to point that way. And also, her lawyer did have a kind of not an invoice, but a document that he stated Rebel Wilson will pay tag this agency group, Melissa Nathan, $25,000 a month. So there seems to be a lot of information pointing towards the smear campaign being orchestrated by Rebel. She does deny it. And when she was on the stand, she faced accusations of dumping her phone because they tried to get her phone and get all the text messages and everything out of it. And she claims that her phone was stolen in London. I find it very hard to believe, just like time wise, that lines up. And I also find it hard to believe, like, an A-list celebrity, too. Like, the chances of someone getting, I mean, obviously, I don't know, but maybe someone broke into her place or something, but it it seems like an even bigger barrier for an A-lister to have their phone stolen a few days before it's needed for a court case. So make of that what you will. The text messages that were shown in court and the emails and everything just did not point towards someone who seem to want to have any sort of good relationship with anyone. They were able to recover texts from other people that involved Rebel, so the main ones that I'm going to focus on are the ones between her and one of her UK agents at the time, Charles Collier. His time on the stand was very interesting, and as I said, I sadly can't show the video of it, but I'm going to paint you a picture. He joined via Zoom, and I want you to imagine the most stereotypical British man you have ever seen. Full, like, Eton, very posh accent. And he also at one point took a drink from a very tiny, posh, like, teacup with like a saucer with pinkies up. And it was so stereotypical. It literally could have been like a sketch show or something. And while his dramatic tea drinking with pinkies up was very funny, the context around why he had a dramatic drink of tea is very interesting. He was on the stand for hours. I don't remember like exactly because some of it I came in like later because I was sleeping and it was like 4 a.m. But he had answered a bunch of questions from both Rebel and Charlotte's barristers. Towards the end of his testimony, he was asked by Charlotte McInnes's lawyers about a particular Zoom meeting, and there was a back and forth between him and the barrister, and he unsurprisingly was trying to talk Rebel up and, in my opinion, dance around some things that Rebel said in texts and emails. He spent a very long time trying to say black and white words that were there on the screen that Rebel said weren't what she intended, and after he finished describing what he did remember about this Zoom call and that Rebel didn't actually mean this and she wouldn't have said this and it wouldn't have come out like that in the call, Charlotte McInnes's barrister revealed to him that they actually had a recording of the Zoom call. So that is when he took his very dramatic swig out of his tiny teacup. Throughout these texts and emails, there were points where Rebel would say things like, "Let's keep refusing to release the signed documents unless we get Amanda to sign this producer contract with these added ethics clauses." And those clauses were very particular about the producer bringing the film into disrepute. Very interesting that Rebel was refusing to sign documents to try and force a signature from Amanda Ghost on these clauses. And now Rebel Wilson is being accused of launching a smear campaign against Amanda Ghost with things in that smear campaign that would absolutely be cause for saying a producer had brought a film into disrepute. Funny that, but there was also minutes from meetings where it was stated in black and white text that Rebel had no specific allegations against Amanda Ghost, but it was in her opinion that there may have been inappropriate behavior and that she, Rebel, was allowed to think that, but it would remain her private view. And insert narrator, it did not remain her private view. Just one extra reminder to say I'm not in any way defending anyone that's involved with this case. I'm just focusing on the stuff with Rebel. So Amanda Ghost, the billionaire Len Blavatnik, none of these people I'm defending, but I'm just talking about the stuff with Rebel. I don't think it's too far-fetched to say that Rebel is probably raging about a lot of this stuff coming out. Her texts sound unhinged, and I will also add that when I did my main channel video on Rebel, I had a flood of people contacting me to tell me about experiences with her. A lot of people on sets working with her, but some people from the wild, and every single one of them was unpleasant. I would say it's definitely top 5 for the volume of people that reached out with stories after a video that I've done on someone. And there were a lot of claims of saying bullying and things like that, but there were some people that said I could use their stories in the part 2 that I'm going to do on my main channel. I'd also think Rebel would be pretty angry about all the financial information that has come out through this because she comes off very greedy. And I mean, that's probably not breaking news for someone in Hollywood, especially that is doing all of these different things and is making a lot of money. And I did go into details in my main channel video about the, in my opinion, scummy products, especially scummy medical products that she promotes to people on Instagram and places like that, using her 11 million followers to do so. She had a multifaceted deal for the Deb, and keep in mind that this is a very, very small production and it's an Australian production. The writer did actually get some sort of scholarship from Rebel, and this was like her first project. Like a lot of people, it was their first real big break. And the movie originally had a $15 million budget that went up to 21 million. And from that, Rebel was getting a $1 million acting fee, 3% of the 15 million budget, but then obviously went up to 21. There also was a 3% of that budget fee for Camp Sugar, the production company she has. And then she had $500,000 director fee. She had her legal fees, she had a writer fee, and a development fee up to and including 400K. And the writer's issue, the writer credit issue, does come up a lot in the emails and texts as well. There's even a stipulation that she is adamant about that says that the production company of the other producers would work with her, Camp Sugar, to do whatever possible to help secure the writing credit for her. And all of that money is still not enough for her because there's multiple points in the texts and emails that she complains about her high nanny costs of being out here, as she calls it. But then there are other messages where they got some funding pulled basically from the movie and they were like scrambling. And Rebel is basically saying, oh, we're not moving where we're filming because I need to be by my base. So it's just insane to read them like all back to back. There's also a big blow up and lots of emails and texts about the other producer's fee, which they're getting a same 3% that Rebel is from the budget, and then they have 300,000 fee, and obviously Rebels is a lot more than that. Of course, she's acting and directing too, but she is making a lot of money from this. And the producer Amanda Ghost, she's doing like all the music and things like that. So they all, you know, have their different producing roles. And she is still complaining about the producers getting their cut. And even Charles Collier, who is her agent acting for her, there's multiple points in the messages where he tells her in the most delicate way possible that she's doing really well from this deal and that they are the ones actually taking all of the risk financially. And she's being paid a fortune no matter what. And now we know that they did take a massive risk and it did not pay off because the disaster that was this movie and its box office performance, they've lost an absolute fortune. Hi guys, Editing Ash here. I'm showing you lots of clips of Rebel and Charlotte and everything outside of court because, as I said, that's all you can show. But I do just want to add, I am very, very suspicious of how many people every single day turned up to get selfies with Rebel, all the paparazzi, how many there were, how there was multiple camera angles every single time that she went straight up to an interviewer or paparazzi or the news and talked to them. Obviously, it's going to be covered and all of that because she is well known, she's Australian, etc. But it just seems very over the top. And from what else we know about PR and paid for and all of that alleged activity, it wouldn't surprise me if those people, some of them at least, were not just there by happenstance. Allegedly, in my opinion. Of course, she's not on trial for being a terrible person, and she's not on trial this time for these smear campaigns or anything like that. It is just the claims against Charlotte McInnes. One other thing that came out in court that Rebel was accused of was Charlotte said that 3 days after she filed this defamation suit against Rebel, that her Snapchat was hacked and one of her nudes was sent out to her entire contact list. And she believes that Rebel was the person who hired someone to do this. And when Rebel denied doing this, she did something that I pointed out a lot in my original video about this, because a couple of months ago, about 3 months ago now, Rebel did a 60 minutes interview and she comes off so terribly, in my opinion, in that. And there's a lots of points where she's being asked questions like, did you ask to have the smear site made? And she's like, I don't even know how to make a website. And the host is like, well, I'm not asking if like you physically made it. Like I'm asking if you gave the instruction. And she did this similar sort of thing in court this week, where when she was asked about the Snapchat stuff, she said, oh, you're saying I'm moonlighting as a hacker. And it's like, no, they're saying, did you give the instruction to someone to do it? And I think that there are so many things over the course of the 2 years that Rebel Wilson has done that point towards someone who has something to hide, is not telling the truth, is going after other people, is trying to destroy people, and is trying to benefit massively financially. And it also looks like she has done a lot of things that are very unprofessional too, in my opinion, because there's points where she's her wife is who was her girlfriend, not that they hadn't been dating that long, I don't think, back then, and she's like calling people involved with the movie and things, and it just comes across very all over the place, in my opinion. And someone who is going to go on social media and they have 11 million followers and talk badly or bring all this out into the open on your social media. I mean, I just think that's incredibly reckless in itself. One, like it just makes it so messy, but two, like it's so like unfair to do against someone else, because yes, like Charlotte McInnes is an actress and stuff, but this was like her big break. When you are someone who has been gifted like a following, or you have subscribers or people, followers, whatever you want to say, to weaponize it in that way is just incredibly shady, in my opinion. Especially someone like Rebel Wilson. It's not like she's a YouTuber or an influencer or something. Like she is a well-known celebrity, and 11 million people is a lot of fucking people. And so to do that is just, I had a big issue with that. And then obviously there's so many other things that I mentioned that just point towards someone who is not behaving in a great way. But saying that, I do think that it's not so cut and dry with the actual legal case, because like Rebel has had before, she had a defamation case before, and she's actually using the same lawyer from that case almost 10 years ago, where she technically won, even though the things that the magazine were printing were things like she wasn't born Rebel Wilson, and she wasn't, and there's all these other things. But sometimes with defamation there is these like technicalities and things, and Rebel's whole thing that she's relying her case on is that it can't be defamatory because she's speaking the truth, and you can't defame someone with the truth. It's like you can't defame someone who's dead. So that is what it is ultimately going to come down to. If Rebel and her side can prove that they are saying something that's true, that Charlotte did originally make claims that she was uncomfortable with the situation with Amanda, because all the other stuff, the smear campaign, the issues with the budget, all the social media stuff that she did with Amanda, and a lot of other things, that is all going to be involved with the Amanda Ghost case as well. And I do just also think that it is so interesting that this case has got such little coverage. I did my video on it almost a month ago now, and because I knew that the case was gonna happen, originally, I was just when I heard about it, I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna do a video when it's over," but it was way too interesting that I was like, "No, I need to talk about it now." And, so I knew, "Oh, when the case is over, I'm gonna do a follow-up." So I have been following it, like I was saying, I've been watching it, I've been every, day that the court has been on, I've been getting articles and pictures and things, and up until, like, the case actually happened, if you just typed into Google "Rebel Wilson," the 2 weeks before the case started, you would never know this is happening. The first week after I posted my video, there was 15 articles coming out every day from, like, these very, like, garbage, like, clickbait article websites that were all about Rebel Wilson's weight loss and all about, you know, she lost this amount of weight and she did this and blah, 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 blah. And it was just like, they must have just been, in my opinion, paying people to just pump out these articles. And in a lot of the text messages from the court, you see how chronically online Rebel Wilson is, in my opinion, because I think that that's something that a lot of people don't realize, like, how celebrities, like, they are so self-obsessed with their image, and she's in text messages, like, if there's an article that comes out, there was one that she, like, really honed in on that was like, "Is Rebel Wilson a bully?" When she's blasting out multiple times to her 11 million followers, that an article like that might come out, and she was texting allegedly this tag group that Melissa Nathan has, saying, "What are you going to do about this?" And there was other text messages about the smear site, and it didn't get the traction that she wanted. So she was allegedly saying, "What are you going to do about this? Because you haven't delivered the results that you told me you were going to deliver." So I have two kind of points to leave on, a bit of a to be continued, because the case is going to pick up next Friday, May 8th, and I'll be there with my popcorn watching to see what goes on. And I will absolutely be doing a part two, like the video on my main channel where it's like, an hour and 45 minutes or something. Not that I'm saying it has to be that long, however long it needs to be, but a very thorough go through of everything when the court case ends. And I do plan on doing one about the other legal situations as well. So, one, as I said, I do think it will be quite up in the air whether she does get found guilty of defamation, because it is so technical, and all these other things that she's accused of doing, like the smear campaigns, like being awful and all of that, other things with phones and stuff, that isn't what she's on trial for. But I will say, on the other hand, that she has done, in my opinion, untold damage to her career, because right now, as I'm always saying on my main channel, like, Hollywood is in a very bad place. And prior to the Deb last year, Rebel Wilson had 3 movies come out and they all absolutely bombed, like very badly bombed. And the Deb has absolutely bombed as well. Like, even all of this legal stuff hasn't warranted any interaction. When I looked up the Australian box office, it wasn't even making $200 per cinema that it was in. And there is other stuff with Rebel and, like, the rights to the theater production of it, because one, there's a lot of money in that, and the Deb was originally a theater production, and so that also was an incentive, in my opinion, for her having all of these issues. But the other side of that, when I'm saying she has done untold damage to her reputation, because Hollywood is in such a bad place, any executive seeing this, seeing all this drama and issues, not even just like the legal stuff, like even just all the behind the scenes stuff and issues, that is going to majorly put someone off. And your last three, now four movies have absolutely flopped. Like, it's not good. And now, although they have, I think, been able to keep a lot of this PR stuff at bay, like, I don't think like the average person, like if I went and asked my friend group now, have you heard about the Rebel Wilson like legal case stuff? The few of them that are very into pop culture know about it because I've mentioned it to them, but most of my friends I don't think would have like any clue that this is going on. But I do think that because the case is ongoing, because there are these more accusations coming out, that they're not able to keep a tighter hold on it now. And there are people starting to put articles out and things. And whenever the case does come to a conclusion, whatever happens will be a big thing as well. If she isn't found guilty, I'm sure she'll pump a bunch of money into putting out a ton of articles saying so. But then there's still the other legal matters as well. And I just think that especially a lot of people, like if you're watching this video, I'm gonna count you in that. A lot of people who follow like Hollywood stuff, you're aware of this now. Like we know about this. We know about this alleged smear campaign and stuff, and it's just like the worst of worst looks. So I know that was like a very lots of information being thrown at you. I hope that it was a little bit of a summary of how the week has gone in court because I don't think anybody's coming out of this situation looking good, to be honest. But I am going to be very interested to tune in next week, 4 in the morning, with G and I having our popcorn. And I'm really looking forward to putting together the whole part two video going through everything because I have been taking pretty meticulous notes. And I'm for that video, I'm gonna try and do some like recreations of things and stuff. And so if you want to see the part one, as I said, I'll link that below and my main channel as well. If you want to put notifications on for when that video comes out, it's all down there, along with my social media, G's social media, my Patreon, merch store, all of that. Thank you so much for watching, and I would love to know everyone's thoughts down below because I'm just so interested in this and hearing people's thoughts because it's such a hard one. Like I feel like there just isn't black and white evidence and everybody says everyone else is lying. So it's going to be interesting when we're able to get to the bottom of it all. But thank you so much again for watching. Leave MVP below to let me know you made it to the end. And G and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye, guys.